What's going on, YouTube? It's Rochelle Tannen. It's 9:01 p.m. here in Phoenix, February 22nd, 25. I want to jump on to be a little negative tonight where I am. Um, because I want to talk about the 57 and broke video going around by I am Celeste Jonah. I think I pronounced that right. She's a black woman from Memphis, Tennessee. She moved to Atlanta to become an actress at 57 years old. She's whining and complaining that she left the corporate job after being warned not to go follow some dream in Atlanta. I look at things, some things I look at as black and white, and some things I look at as young and old. And tonight I want to talk about them Gen Xers. Now, a lot of people in the last 5 to 10 years try to mix it up and say 1980 is Gen X and all that other stuff. No, it isn't. Gen X is 65 to 79. Millennial starts at 80, depending on the scholar, but traditionally, historically, millennials started at 1980. And I want to talk about these people because, in everyday life, they get on my nerves. These people in their 50s, latter 40s, that were born in the early 70s or late 60s that act like everyone owes them something and like they're 21 or 31, hell, even 41 now for the ones born in the late 60s, early 70s. And they have these attitudes like it's everyone else's fault they messed up in life. I just dealt with that here in Phoenix. I had my first job here. I won't name the company. Um, the woman who was the manager of this department was a 53-year-old woman from Minnesota, big and fat, broke, always whining. I've never been in a training like hers before. She would come in and talk about her son and how she had to raise him alone and she was a single mother and she was just a nasty person. And I noticed with people born in the 70s, they truly are Nixon babies and Carter babies because they try to act like they give a fuck, but they don't because a lot of them are manipulative and self-involved and self-indulgent. So anyway, I ended up quitting this job because, as I told you guys, I just finished my bachelor's degree, and I'm glad I finished it at this time in my life, um, versus 20 years ago, because so much has changed, and I've learned how to do things online, and it was a wonderful experience. And there's opportunities today to get your college paid for without taking out loans, which is even better. But the woman in this video was she finished college like 25 years ago, the way she was telling the story, and still talking about a college relationship. Bitch, what are you talking about? See, I just got my degree, as I mentioned, and with this company I took the first job for, I needed a job. I was homeless when I moved out here. I was running out of unemployment from Pennsylvania, and rightfully so. I had just finished my degree. So I'm in a different boat, and people like me are in a different boat. But if you've had your degree 20, 25, 30 years, and you were working at the end of the 90s, into 2000, and you still fucked up, whose fault is that? That's like my first job here. The manager, the big fat white woman who was condescending and didn't like black women like me because I can articulate myself and I do an excellent job for any job I take. That was taught to me as a kid. She was always the hero or the victim to hear her say it, even though she was despicable. And I've decided, since I do have a bachelor's degree now, I'll work because I like to eat and I just got done working. I'll work tomorrow too for some overtime. But I'm not going to take some nonsense for now in my life, associate's level money, because I was making this type of money before I got the bachelor's degree. I was making more. So I'm not taking any nonsense. No lying. I don't want to hear your story of woe. I don't want to have to put up with your issues at work that you bring on the clock and take out on complete strangers like the overgrown petulant teenagers, these wannabe teenagers, these people born in the 70s are. Now, let me say, I like to compare a lot of things to entertainment because it represents certain things. I'm not talking about you badasses out of the 70s. Because you got some stone cold badasses that get up and work. They're decent people. Gen Xers are a lot of fun, you know, and they're solid in certain ways. But them fucked up weenies like this bitch from the 70s, I can't stand. I can't stand talking about she moved to Atlanta and was doing DoorDash and all this other shit. Bitch, you too old for that. Not that there's anything wrong with gigging it for extra money or even if you do it full time, because I've seen people do full time gig work and make bank because they run it from 12 to 14 hours. Some of them do DoorDash and Uber Eats at the same time. But that's not what we're talking about. She's crying about leaving her corporate job and then trying to get the job back. Do you motherfuckers understand what time we're in? Most of these young people are walking around here with degrees, great degrees from great schools, and pay isn't enough across the industries. AI is taking a lot of jobs. Whatever company she worked for in Memphis could get younger labor, cheaper labor, and better, more recent degree labor than her. What the fuck are these people on? And I run into that a lot in Phoenix. People in their 50s and 60s always crying a sad song, but blaming young people for everything. And I'm not even just talking about super young, like in your 20s. A lot of them motherfuckers, they come at 80s people crooked. I know I get it quite a bit. Now, they're quick to cry about their lives to anyone who will listen. I'm getting it together. I hear that so much in Phoenix. I'm getting it together. My life this, my life that. Well, you were raised in the 70s and 80s. You guys got less than some of these young people will never have. You became assholes because you wanted to. And you're spoiled and entitled and mean. That's why your life is shit in your 50s and approaching. Because I'm not just talking about early 70s. They ain't got there just yet, but latter 70s people you got to watch. Very manipulative decade, very deceiving decade, deceptive decade. They appear to be one thing, but they're a whole other thing. Like this bitch with her crocodile ass tears. This motherfucker 13 years older than me. So you didn't put nothing together or in the bank and all the time now this is a college educated woman and all the times you worked at that corporate job. And what normal thinking person in 2025, let me be delicate because it's a little abnormal for young people to do it. But you guys remember the young lady who moved from, I believe, it was a southeastern state and she moved to Texas to become an influencer. And she took her 3 kids and they were homeless. Now, that might have been a beetle-headed move, but she was only like 25 or something like that. I can let that go. But if you were alive when the towers got bombed the first time, not 9/11, when they got bombed the first time, and if you don't know what year it was, Google it. But if you were alive like she was and I was, why the fuck are you moving from one city to another to chase an acting dream? Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? That's just stupid. That's just stupid. And then what really burned me up, because my older sister's born in the 70s and she has this, we don't talk because my sister's a despicable person. She has the same air that this woman has. This woman, almost 60 years old, talking about she didn't want to have to ask family. And I guess someone she knew for a long time let her stay. And she started complaining about there were issues, there were this and that. You're almost 60 years old. What the fuck you doing asking someone to stay with you? Now, see, me, I done ran the gambit because I learned a long time ago. I stayed with family in my 20s. That's not for me. And like my older cousin who was born in the 70s, because like I said, you got G's, like she taught me when I was 18 and my family's house was a mess. You got to work and eat. And I don't care if you have a fucking tent. As long as no one can put you out, that's what's up. And like my late aunt taught me, you got to pay for privacy. So you're almost 60. Someone's gracious and good enough to let you live with them at almost 60 because I ain't doing it. My older sister does shit like that. And since we've been adults, She stayed with me and used me. She stayed with every cousin and aunt and on my mom's side of the family, or almost the ones in the sector of the country she lives in. And has this attitude like everyone owes her. Her life's jacked up because of her choices, just like this woman. And all them 1970s something born people that behave like this. This woman had the unmitigated gall to complain about someone who's letting you stay there and you ain't got no money? Nigga. Nigga. You know, it's funny. Every day that goes by, I'm starting to appreciate the crack epidemic more and more. Because if the crack epidemic didn't teach you anything, it taught you that life ain't no fucking fairy tale when you see your parents get strung out and shit. Them 70s niggas still living on a dream. They act like it's kumbaya, but they know what time it is. And them crocodile ass tears. Then, and I hate this, being a Negro woman, African American, whatever you want to call me, I've hated this since I was a little girl. And southeastern states near the Bible Belt, they're good for doing this. I'm getting sick and tired of people across ages, particularly women, because Stephanie Jenkins does this. Whenever something you get consequences from your choices, you blame God or you blame the devil. But you never blame yourself. This woman's almost 60 still talking about, well, God put this in and God wants me to do this, and that, and the other. Maybe my concept of the good Lord is different than a lot of people's. But when I have to bear the consequences of my actions, I don't blame God and the devil. I play that game. Now, I don't play with the good Lord because there's been times in my life the good Lord will be real direct with you. Never be direct with him because he has a way of being very direct. And the devil can't make you do anything. The devil just sets up the board. It's up to you to play with them or not. I get so tired of women like her using the good Lord as their scapegoat and their attack dog. That's why, and this woman, and trust me, as I get older, but certainly if I see 57, Lord willing, you're closer to the end of your life than the beginning. So maybe now is not the best time to be playing with the good Lord. Just because you talk about the good Lord don't mean he can't see what your heart is about. Like I said, I'm getting tired of these 50 somethings, close to 60, some of them, they're coming out 60s, blaming everyone else for their problems. It makes no sense. But I will give them this before I sign off. After living here in Phoenix for almost a year, because even when I was at the shelter, I met a woman that was 60 something years old, I think 67, 68, who had to physically be removed out of her late mother's apartment. Her mother had died 3 months before she went to this shelter. They had to physically remove her because she wouldn't leave. Number one, what the fuck are you doing living with your mother almost 70 years old? Then you've had your mother all this goddamn time and you ain't put nothing together in almost 7 decades. And the older people at this shelter killed me because they always had advice for people that were their quote kids age, but you're sitting in a motherfucking shelter like it's the place to be. Talking about the younger people. Are you people out your fucking minds? Because I'm starting to think you are. I'm not working my dream job. I know it's going to take a little more time. Not even a dream job, a more appropriate job. Because every job has BS. But a more appropriate job for my skill set and education level to date now. But it's going to take time. But until that time, I get my black ass up and work. And if there's overtime, I'll work overtime. I'm not above working. Because I don't want to be 50 years old. I don't even want to be 45 years old blaming the rest of the world for my goddamn problems. Any of my problems. Because it's nothing I can't control. But as far as making bonehead moves, I'm astonished by some of these people. And I mean that. I'm truly astonished. Just getting off the 1970s people, I don't see, as a woman whose mother was murdered when I was 16 years old, and my father had a drug addiction or drug habit, how you niggas had your parents, depending on your age, had your parents or your mothers all this time and you're still fucked up. The The times I've had to be homeless. My sisters and I don't have a mother's house to run to. Haven't had one since 1997. So sometimes you got to get it how you live. Y'all have all this goddamn time and still fucked up. No, I don't feel sorry for this woman or anyone like her. But on that note, guys, I just got off work. I just want to do this quick video. Please watch to the end. I see all you new subscribers. I'm going to be working on this channel and getting it together. Guys, I'll talk to you later.